Hey, what's going on, guys? Tawfiq here, and today we're going to start writing our first program where we open a window and render colors to it using Apple's Metal API. So let's get started.
So the first thing to do is open Xcode. Start a new project for your Mac. Make your selection for a Cocoa app in Objective-C. After that's done, you also want to import Apple's MetalKit framework for this project. And now, we will bring in an Objective-C class in which we will write our renderer. And also let's bring along with it a header file. A simple import statement is enough to link both of them together. Although you might already know that in advance, I thought I'll just bring that up once as a refresher. After we're done importing metal to our header file, we're ready to create our interface with a MetalKit View delegate as our base class. Now let's go ahead and define the function and the inputs that come along with it. We're going to write our initializer method with MetalKit View, and it's going to take an input of mtkview object type. I'm calling that object as mtkviewInst. Now let's implement the interface we created before. And also make use of autofill as much as we could. Join mtkview and mtkview have been brought in thanks to the base class that we used before, which is mtkview. Now we are going to need our metal device and command queue. Since we're going to display a color on our window, and metal usually takes in RGB and alpha components, we're going to create a struct for storing our color values. That makes total sense, right? Now I'm going to change the properties of the method, which I defined in my header. Classic self super init statement. We take the device value from the object parameters that has been passed to the function. Okay, and command queue is obtained from device by using the keyword new command queue. Now I'm going to create a method which will return to us the color that will serve as a background for our window. I'll set myself on calling this function display color and move on. So I'm gonna create a variable to which I'm gonna assign red, green, blue, and alpha values. Feel free to choose any color you want for a range of values between 0 to 1. Put in the essential return statement and return the color. Now we're going to give a command to call the function that we just wrote before. So every time the renderer is called, we want it to clear the screen or the window and fill it up with the color we just obtained. So the next step from here would be to make a metal command buffer. The command buffer is made from the command queue. Now after this step, we need to specify a command buffer label. A label is going to be nothing but a string value. You can call it anything you like. Now we go on to make our metal render pass descriptor. Next is to check if the render pass descriptor exists or not. So now we have the render command encoder, which encodes the command buffer for rendering operations. Similarly, we specify a label for the render command encoder. Now we specify the end of encoding. After rendering, we will provide these values as drawables. And now we are ready to commit the changes to the GPU. So that marks the end of our render class. Our view controller can call the render class any number of times, and the render class will provide it with all the drawables it needs. We're going to use the MetalKit framework in the view controller as well, so that the drawables from the renderer are visible. I'm going to import the renderer here. Fix the error by placing the renderer class in a file of itself. Here, we start assigning our MTKView object so that it's passed to the renderer every time it's called for. Now we define the device in the MTKView object. And the way to get this is to use metal create system default device. We also need to consider the cases when no devices have been found. This way you know metal is not supported on the hardware that you are currently using. Now we give a render call by using the init function in the class and also by using the mtkview object as an argument. This method comes in handy when your renderer has not been found. Now we're going to specify our view delegate as the renderer, and we're also going to specify the refresh rate or the frames per second as 60 frames per second, but you feel free to choose whatever suits you best. Then we go ahead and build our app. I'm missing semicolon, which needs fixing. Build again. Success. Now this window lacks color, which was specified in the renderer class. To fix that, we look into our main storyboard, find the view, and associate that viewboard with an mtkview class to fix the issue. There we go. We find the colors that we are looking for.